Bun găsit! Sunt Natalia Zaharescu și vă prezint un interviu în exclusivitate cu Oliver Várhelyi, Comisarul European pentru extindere și vecinătate, care s-a aflat în vizită la Chișinău. Comisarul European a condus o numeroasă delegație a Comisiei Europene care a ajuns în Republica Moldova în contextul în care țara noastră a dat startul celei de-a doua etape a negocierilor de aderare cu Uniunea Europeană, și anume screeningul bilateral, adică evaluarea legislației naționale în vederea racordării la legislația Uniunii Europene. În cadrul acestui interviu aflați ce declară Comisarul European pentru extindere despre referendumul privind integrarea europeană, despre promisiunile autorităților de la Chișinău că Republica Moldova va fi gata de aderare în 2030, despre cum poate fi securizat parcursul nostru european și cum poate fi combătută influența Federației Ruse.
Mr. Várhelyi, thank you for accepting to talk to us. Republic of Moldova just recently started a negotiation for European integration, and these days, when you are in Chișinău, it started the bilateral screening. It's a lot of work our authorities need to do. How do you estimate what will be the biggest, risks or something that our authorities should know about this screening and should do to do it in a good way?
Well, the risks are always numerous, but if I want to use one sentence, is that there is no task unimportant, meaning that no matter how small the task is, everything has to be completed. And nothing should be left aside. Everything will have to be addressed because all the questions will have to be responded to. And each and every single piece of EU legislation will have to be implemented fully in Moldavia. Next to it, of course, the other big, you called it challenge or task, is of course to create the right administrative capacity, so that it's not only that you have the law in place, but you have to enforce it, so that you have people who are actually enforcing these laws, so that we can be sure that when you join the European Union, you will apply the same rules as we do.
Mm-hmm. So the institutions must be ready.
Yes.
Yeah. And what can you say about the chapters that should be negotiated? Which one will be the most difficult to negotiate for Moldova?
I think it is too early to tell, because we will now analyze piece by piece the legislation of the European Union, and we will receive the answers from the government, how they are going to be able to implement it. So we don't know yet. If you want to use historic examples, of course, everybody knows that which are the most critical chapters in any accession negotiations. They always start with agriculture. Moldavia has, after all, a strong agriculture sector. So I would presume this is going to be an important one for Moldova. Then, of course, when we talk about cohesion policy, then cohesion and structural policy is going to be something to look at, because these two, the agriculture and the cohesion and structural policy, they could also have financial implications. And then, classically, there are a lot of discussions always about state aid rules, that is competition policy, then in some cases, intellectual property rights are the ones that are critical. We will see how to enforce same intellectual property rights here as anywhere else in the European Union. And of course, there will be discussions about the representation of Moldavia in the different institutions. So there are many topics that we will need to see, but I think it's too early to tell which are going to be the most heavy discussions.
What kind of accession funds Moldova can count on, and what should our authorities do to be able to absorb these funds?
Well, Moldova already has received significant contribution from the European Union since these crises have hit Moldova. The COVID, then the Russian aggression against Ukraine and its impact, then the energy crisis. What we have been contributing with was also to help the reform efforts. It is also clear that with the review of the multi-annual financial framework, the leaders of the European Union, so the European Council, also decided to reinforce financially the support for the candidate countries. If you look at Ukraine, the Ukraine facility for reforms, a significant part of it goes. Then we created the growth plan for the Western Balkans. And there are additional financial possibilities also for Moldova. This is something that we are working on now. I do hope that we can come with some proposals later in the summer.
Mm-hmm. And do you think we will be able to absorb them and we will be ready for this?
I think so.
Our authorities have made some promises. They have estimated that the Republic of Moldova will be ready to European integration in 2030. What do you think about these kind of promises? How realistic are they?
Well, if they say so, then so much the better. If you ask me whether they are going to be ready, at this stage I cannot tell you. What I can tell you is that all conditions will have to be met. And if Moldova is ready to meet all the conditions by 2030, I think it is a feasible date for Moldova to be ready. Whether the European Union is going to be ready is another question. But if you ask my personal opinion, there are a number of political decisions that have been made lately, which are pointing also towards that kind of a date. Because you have seen that the leaders have discussed this issue basically on each and every European Council in the last almost 3 years. And it is clear that the European Union wants enlargement. It is also clear that the next institutional cycle will be very much characterized by enlargement. If you look at the political agenda just adopted by the European Council for the next institutional cycle, you see enlargement as something that would have to be completed during the next mandate. And that leads me to my third point, which is, I think, it follows from this, that the next commission will have to be an enlargement commission. Meaning that by the end of its mandate, it should be able to receive new members. And the end of the next mandate is 31st of October 2029.
We will have a referendum in October, and the same day with the presidential elections. How relevant is this referendum and the results of this referendum will be for EU? And we will see the results.
Well, a referendum, especially if it is a constitutional referendum, is of course going to be relevant. And I do hope that it mobilizes also the public here in Moldova, where the initial polls are already showing that there is a wide public support for EU membership, and that the people would like to see Moldova in the European Union. But public opinion polls are completely different from referendums, and when a referendum confirms such a view, it gives a very strong mandate and power for a government to actually pursue this goal. And this also puts a responsibility on the back of the parliament and the government to deliver it for the people. So our understanding on the EU side will be that the government has a strong mandate to get it done.
How can we secure the European path here in the Republic of Moldova? How can we be sure that the European integration or the European path is irreversible for us? In the context maybe that we will soon have presidential elections and the next year we'll have parliamentary elections.
By political choices, by opting always for the choice that leads Moldova into the European Union. But it is also very important to create, and this is what I hope to emerge after this referendum, to create a national common minimum, meaning that all political sides are united in delivering everything that is necessary for Moldova to become a member of the European Union. Because there is a unique opportunity in front of the country to get it done. The door is open. So it is also a question of a internal political dialogue and agreement by all political sides to work for that. And I think there is no better incentive or even imposition than a positive referendum pointing towards that.
And also, how can we fight here Russian influence? Because I have a lot of Russian propaganda, a lot of political actors that act on, I think, on the Russian side maybe. How can we fight and how can EU help us?
We are helping the government with technical expertise to be able to fend off all these cyber attacks and hybrid threats. But again, the most important tool in the hands of the people of Moldova is to make the political choices that will make this whole process irreversible.